Hey everybody, it is Adam from Adam's Anime World. David is here.
Hello, I'm back.
In person.
Yes.
Now, David's been on the audio podcast we've done.
Yeah.
And here he is in person.
Yeah, finally I can be back in person doing a double video here. And we're going to start off this return back with
a bit of a,
perhaps not the best thing really, but we'll get into it. Do you want to tell them what's happening?
Dog cameo there.
Yeah.
We are going to be reviewing the brand new Studio Ghibli film Earwig and the Witch, and I've just got one thing to say about this review. You need to watch this review all the way to the end. Otherwise, it'll be the worms for you. Now, if you've seen the film,
My God,
you'll know exactly what we're talking about. Anyway, we absolutely love that line. By the way, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Earwig and the Witch, the new Studio Ghibli film. We did a review of the trailer in the podcast.
We did
months ago at this point, and we've finally seen the film. And now we can talk about the film now that we've seen it. So here we go.
Cut a long story short, it's basically about this baby gets dropped off at an orphanage by who we assume to be the mother. It doesn't actually confirm it, but that's what you'd assume. That's
what you were led to
drops
believe.
off this baby with a card, and it sort of reads.
It's something like, "Oh, I'm dropping this off. I'm being hunted by the 7 witches, and it might take me a long time to get rid of them. Here's a baby. She's called Earwig. There you are."
So that was that, and it just basically she ends up getting adopted, and it ends up being this witch and what's his name? The man. Was it Mandark or something?
Oh, the man. Well, there was the witch was called like Bella something, Bella Yada or something. And the guy was called Mandrake.
Oh, Mandrake, that's it. Sort of like a demon, and they make spells for people. I guess it's their home business, and they sell the spells.
And she basically adopts Earwig to be basically her bitch, like an assistant.
Yeah, and a helper, and in a nutshell, that's kind of it.
That's the entire film. The entire film is pretty much Earwig just doing chores for this woman, here's my problem. When we've got a lot of it. Okay, let's straight up say this right now. This film isn't good.
No, it's not unwatchable. I'm not going to be so horrible to the point where I'd say that it's completely unwatchable. But there are certain aspects of this film that it's just poorly explained. It's boring, uneventful,
and I think the worst thing about it, and you said this to me, and we both kind of agreed with this. There's plot points in this film, so I'm not going to go into major. How are we going to do with spoilers?
I would say just go fully in.
Fully in with spoilers.
It's not a matter. Spoiler warning now. Then, if there's any finer details from this point.
To be fair, in the UK, I know it's been out in the US for a while, but in the UK, this literally came out yesterday.
Yes, as of the 28th of May.
Yeah,
it came out in the cinemas here. But we're going to go full in. If you do want to see this film and you don't want spoilers,
just don't watch this video.
There's your warning.
So here's the thing. So basically, here's my issue with it. There's plot points to this film, so many plot points of this film that they just straight up just don't explain. There's the whole thing of, like we said at the start, Earwig's mum, I'm just going to say that, Earwig's mum drops her off and says, I'm being chased by these 7 witches. We never find out that's said, and then it's never mentioned again.
Yeah,
for the entire film.
Who are the 7 witches? Why are they chasing after her?
Yeah.
What's the point of the 7 witches?
They don't show her trying to get away from them.
No,
nothing. And then there's the other bit. Okay, so it turns out there's this band called Earwig, and I guess Earwig, the girl, she's named after the band. I guess, yeah. And turns out that Mandrake and the witch, Bella, I'm just going to say Bella because I can't remember the second part.
Yeah, the Mandrake and the witch that this Earwig child is living with, helping out.
They were members of this band that Earwig's mum was in.
So the Mandrake was like the keyboard player.
Bella was the drummer.
Bella was the drummer.
And the mum was like the singer and the guitar player.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the big revelation. The big revelation.
That's the big revelation, by the way. And this is so bullshit. The way that this film is paced is so bullshit. Like,
yeah.
So for the majority of the film, you've got Earwig doing these chores, and then she finds this like tape of this like one song. I guess it's one song, and she's playing this one song, and she's hearing it, and she wants to find out about this band. She's like, "Oh, who's this band?" And then she finds out all this information about the band in the last maybe 15 minutes of the film. And just as the film is starting to get somewhat interesting, it just ends. It's really abrupt ending.
It ends by what we believe to be the red-headed mother,
turning up.
The singer-guitarist of this Earwig band, turns up and it's like, Merry Christmas.
And then it just ends.
And then the film just ends, done. There's no like, where have you been? Like, and that's the thing, it's like, the witch and this Mandrake seem really bitter and sour, like something's happened to them. But again, we're never explained what. All we've got to go on is they all were once in a band and they fell out, and that's it.
Here's the thing. This is the problem with this film. All of the things that you want to know, like the backstory of the characters and why they're doing what they're doing or why they are the way they are and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They just don't explain.
They don't.
Anything.
And it's like, even at the start, the Earwig child, the main character, it's like, first she wanted to leave the orphanage, and then she didn't, then she did, then she didn't, and then also, that child saw some pretty, like, scary things at this house, like, you know, like fiery demons and doorways that were there and they weren't there, and these worms and it's like she just completely no-sold the fact that these things were happening, and she wasn't terrified at any point.
Although she did say that she could do a full Nelson, which I thought was hilarious.
But why was this child not? Because surely she would have had no exposure to any of this sort of activity, or if she did, it wasn't explained. We just thought she was a normal girl in a normal orphanage.
I said this to you while we were watching the film, and people that have seen it will know exactly what I mean. I know he went. This reminded me a little bit of Kiki's Delivery Service, but when Kiki went to the bakery, if like the woman who owned the bakery was a bitch, basically, and was just like, do all these chores and fucking, and yes, and there were some things that reminded me of Kiki's Delivery Service, like there was. In Kiki's Delivery Service, obviously you got Gigi the black cat. There's a black cat in this who is the best character in the fucking film. Is the cat.
The cat is the best character. So anyway, I there's not too much more to say about this for myself personally, because that's just the way it is. So I'm going to quickly give you my quick pros and cons, and then score, and then Adam will do the same.
Yeah.
So, good bits. There weren't too many, but I would say the soundtrack was decent. I enjoyed the British setting, although
the Sky Sports thing.
There was Sky Sports mentioned, which was quite cool.
There was like references to things. There was a Sky Sports reference. There was a reference to Lupin the Third with the yellow car.
Yeah.
There was a reference in the credits. There was a reference to Howl's
Moving Castle.
Yeah.
So and the cat. And then other than that, for me, that's about as far as I go for the pros. The cons, like I said, boring, uneventful, unexplained. The animation wasn't the worst, but not brilliant. We didn't have a choice in this, by the way. We saw it dubbed. That's the version we get in the cinema. We wanted to see the sub first, but there you go. The English dub I thought was pretty poor. The mouth movements.
Yeah, that's now,
didn't really.
Here's what we got to say about the thing really quick. I'm going to say this really quickly. The dub. I've heard worse. Believe me, we've heard worse.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great, and what we found is the mouth movements. I don't know if this was because they were dubbing over the Japanese version or whether it was just the way it was made. I don't know. The words that they were saying didn't match the mouth movements, did they?
No, they did not.
They did not mention. They did not. it was just, it's so frustrating because it was a Ghibli film.
Yeah.
And
the only reason Adam will say his piece in a second, but the only reason I saw this film legit is because it had the Studio Ghibli name stamped to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole.
Absolutely agree. That's the only reason I saw
for me, I'm going to say this. It was not unwatchable. It was not flat out shit. I would say it edged very, very close to being shit. And I would say that this is borderline moderately acceptable.
As a Studio Ghibli film, compared to the other things that they've put out,
very poor.
This film fucking sucked. Compared to like Spirited Away and, you know, films of that nature, Princess Mononoke, things like that. This film fucking sucked.
I'm going to give you my out of 10 score, and I'm actually going to revise it slightly to what I said to Adam in the cinema. And this will sound a little bit harsh, but look, there are so many Ghibli films out there. There are so many other films to consider when
they're showing Demon Slayer
at
the moment, and that film. I mean, I haven't seen it, but for what I've heard,
it's grossed a lot, isn't it?
Demon Slayer shits all over this.
Yeah. Anyway, my final score for the Earwig and the Witch is going to be 3.5 out of 10.
3.5 out of 10. Okay.
So I'm saying you can just about watch it, you can get through it, but only just. That's my score. Over to you.
I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. I thought it was okay. It was okay.
I'm going to say now that seems a bit too generously high, but
it was okay. Like as a right, all I'm going to say is Studio Ghibli. No, the film sucked.
It's not. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It had moments, but for
if you're a fan, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're a fan and you're a mark of Studio Ghibli,
then you see it. But
then it's just about watchable to say just to tick it off and say you've done. But
if you're a Ghibli completionist,
yeah, I guess. Will I ever watch this film again? I'm gonna flat out say no. I've got no intention of ever bothering to watch this film ever again.
No, this is not a Ghibli film that I would choose to go.
And you said this earlier on. You said this film just didn't have that magical Ghibli vibe.
No, it didn't
really.
No, as I say, if you're a Ghibli fan and you've seen a lot of the films, you know exactly what I mean when I say the Ghibli vibe.
Yes.
This film did not have the Ghibli vibe at all.
It did not. That's what I've got to say about you.
Yeah, I haven't got anything else left to say. Overall, compared to all the other, well, not all the other Ghibli films, but compared to a lot of the greats, it fucking sucked.
Yes, it did.
It was bad. Yeah. I like I said, I have not seen it. I've seen quite a few reviews of this film. I have not seen a review of this film that says it's good. Not one.
No.
So that's all we got to say about that.
Yes. Anything else to add?
No. There we are.
All right then. Well, that's me signing off. That's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye indeed.